Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Sammy. Grinding Gear Games has a lot of tough decisions ahead, not only to see what is coming up with 0.5, but they got potentially ExileCon and announcements, big announcements, hopefully coming then. The speculation that that's going to lead to the launch of 1.0 in December. But the point of this video is I kind of want to talk about this timeline now till the end of 2026 and kind of how things may potentially kind of roll out for their roadmap, because there's a couple of interesting factors that's going on. Number one, 0.5 is coming. Well, we're going to hear about it in late April, and it's going to go live sometime early May. So that has caused the typical 4-month gap between POE 2 leaks to go a little bit longer. And if the rumor is true that because ExileCon has been announced for 2026 happening November 7th and 8th, everyone is speculating that that only means one thing, and that is that 1.0 is going to launch in December. So we have 0.5 happening sometime in May, and speculation that 1.0 is going to happen in December, announced in November at ExileCon. So this 4-month typical gap between the POE 2 leaks kind of is going through a little massaging. So I want to talk about that in this video. I want to talk about what's outstanding still left to be introduced in the game and what may or may not come prior to the speculated date launch of 1.0 in December, if that holds true. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We got a lot of time to talk about Path of Exile 2. Like I said, we're not going to get anything until late April for 0.5. So let's dig in and talk about these topics. All right. So I could literally, or any of the content creators could literally spend 5 hours talking about every little nuance that needs to be addressed in Path of Exile 2. I am going to select a few of those tons of topics that we could talk about, because God knows everyone has an opinion on what needs to be addressed in Path of Exile 2. But I kind of want to talk about the big ticket items, the things that are the heavy hitters in the game, things that should be in Path of Exile 2, but will they be prior to the launch of 1.0? So we're going to address this one at a time. And please get in the comment section after watching this whole video. And please, if you could watch the whole video, that would really help out my channel. If I've missed anything or you agree or disagree, get in the comment section and let me know. But let me talk about the low-hanging fruit first, and that is the campaign. Currently in the game, we have acts 1 through 4, and then we have the interludes, the mini acts that replaced the cruel difficulty prior. And so we're missing acts 5 and 6, which are going to replace the mini acts, the interludes. Now, GGG has already confirmed that they would want a completed 6-act campaign for 1.0. So I think we stand on some solid ground stating that acts 5 and 6 have to come and be put in the game prior to 1.0 launch. Now, I am a believer, like most of the content creators and probably most of you, that they are going to announce in November at ExileCon that Path of Exile 2 is going to launch 1.0 in December. I'm a believer of that. That is my speculation as well, and I believe that to be true. So just remember that when you hear me rambling on this video. So I'm totally am a proponent and believe that Acts 5 and 6 are going to get introduced. Where in this whole process from 0.5 to 1.0 in December, if that holds true, where that is going to happen, I personally don't think Acts 5 and 6 are coming in 0.5. I think 05, they're solely committed to getting this endgame rehaul really done right. So I think that's where their focus has been. And at the end of the day, I think they really haven't done a bad job with the campaign. So I really think this is low-hanging fruit for them. And it's something that I believe that they're going to either do it the patch before 1.0 or they're going to drop it with 1.0. They haven't gone wrong in the campaign. Now, that is a big statement. I do have some opinions or critiques about the campaign. Personally, Act 3 is way too long. But I think what we're going to find is during these additions from 0.5 to 1.0, if that pans out in December, I think we're going to get some reducing of the map sizes in the campaign, which will go a long way in getting rid of this distaste from a lot of players in the player base about, one example is how big the areas are in Act 3, as an example. So safe to say Acts 5 and 6 are going to come prior to 1.0. I think that's kind of a low-hanging fruit. But if you disagree with me, please get in the comment section. So there are currently 8 games in the game right now as the recording of this video. There are 4 more classes to be introduced. We know there's going to be 12 classes total. Shadow, Marauder, Duelist, and Templar are the 4 that are outstanding. Now, GGG has confirmed way back when that 1.0 does not have to have all the 12 classes. We also recently have learned that swords, everybody's kicking and screaming about swords, they're a priority for launch, which suggests swords are tied to the duelist. So it's pretty safe to say, to guess, that the duelist is likely going to be introduced prior to 1.0. Now, whether the other 3 classes are going to get introduced prior to 1.0, well, your guess is as good as mine. If I was a betting man, I think we're going to get 1 for sure, maybe 2. So potentially going into 1.0, again, I'm speculating December 1.0, I think we're going to be missing probably 2 classes going into 1.0. But I think it's pretty safe to say, because of the priority GGG has on swords and it's tied to the duelist, that the duelist is probably going to make an introduction of the character prior to 1.0. So that's where I kind of stand and my position is on the classes. Now, in the beginning of Path of Exile 2 Early Access, we all thought all 12 classes, it was a must prior to 1.0. But Jonathan later on came and said, you know what? He didn't see it impossible not to go into 1.0 without all the classes. So I think we're going to get 1, potentially 2, but I don't see all the 12 being in the game prior to 1.0. Now, another thing that is missing is, of course, every class has 3 ascendancies. And of the 8 classes that are in the game right now, not all of them have 3 ascendancies. The Ranger, Huntress, Monk, and Druid are all missing 1 ascendancy each. So, the thing with this is, Grinding Gear Games has noted that 1.0 may not include all the ascendancies, so 3 per class. So again, we are in limbo whether or not we are going to get more ascendancies prior to 1.0. Now, I am going to speculate that we are going to get some additions. So the missing ascendancies for some of these classes, the Ranger, the Huntress, the Monk, the Druid, I think we're going to get a couple of more. I don't know if we're going to get all 4 of these classes that are missing 1 each. I don't know if they're all going to get it prior to 1.0. That, your guess is as good as mine. But the fact that Grinding Gear Games says that this doesn't have to happen for 1.0 leads me to think that it's up in the air, depending on how these drops go and how they're received. Because I think a lot of this stuff, some of this stuff, not all of it, it has a moving target. It all depends on what the reaction is of these leagues that get dropped and how it's going. And of course, the biggest one of them all is literally 4 to 5 weeks. That's 0.5. Everybody's chomping at the bit to see what Grinding Gear Games has cooked. And, this timeline between 0.4 and 0.5, 0.4 launched on December 12th, and 0.5 is going to be launching in early May, whether it's the 8th or the 15th. We don't know yet. Some are speculating it's the 8th, but that is the longest time frame to date for any gap between POE2 leagues. That is the longest so far in POE2's early history. So we'll see what happens. As far as the third trial of Ascendancies, we're missing one. It's called the Trials of the Ancestors, and hopefully it's better than the trials of what I like to call it, Trials of Secamus, aka Suck My Ass, and the Trials of Chaos. Those are the two currently in the game. The Trials of the Ancestors is the third one. Personally, I feel this is a must for 1.0. I don't know how, at the end of the day, Grinding Gear Games can do whatever they want. If they want to go into 1.0 without the third Trials of Ascendancy, that's their prerogative. It's their game. But personally, on the back of knowing how the players, their distaste for the current two trials that are in the game, I would hope that, putting some light and some freshness in the third trials, hopefully they've learned from their mistakes from the two that are in the game, and they can, give us a beacon of light with this new trials. Hopefully it's better than the other two, and everyone has their own personal taste on both the Trials of Chaos and the Trials of Secamus. So hopefully they get this one right. And you know what? Hopefully, prior to 1.0, they do some fine-tuning with the Trials of Secamus and Trials of Chaos, because I don't think it's popular with too many players, to be quite frank. But as far as the third Ascendancy, the Trials of the Ancestors, I think this one is a must for 1.0, and hopefully they do drop it somewhere between now and 1.0 in December, if we go full release in December. Now, Endgame Rehaul, we know this is coming. We know Grinding Gear Games has said this is a huge patch, a huge update. We've heard that terminology from Grinding Gear Games. Now, we can talk this till the cows come home. This could be like 400 videos on this content. There are so many possibilities when it comes to the end game. And the current criticism for the end game is the unbalanced death penalties, the difficult reward loops, which 0.5 aims to address by revamping the mapping systems. Just to name a few, there's a lot to get into here. I'm not going to get into it because we are weeks away, late April, for us getting an update from Grinding Gear Games. It's probably going to entail them dropping tidbits, and then we're going to get the announcement of the live reveal, which will probably happen in late April. And then we're going to find out when in May 0.5 is going to go live. Now, personally, and this is my own personal thing, just because of IRL, I'm praying it's not May 8th. Normally, I want it earlier, but personally, there's a IRL conflict for me. I will be very sad if it drops on May 8th. Sorry, it's my own personal thing, because I will not be able to stream or play the game on May 8th. I have an IRL conflict, which is going to cause me irreparable stress and mental damage, because I love this game and I'm gnawing at the bit to get my teeth on it. It's going to be very sad, but whatever. If it's May 8th, it's May 8th. I'll get over it. But this end game, there is so much potential. I know there's been a lot of debate about this massive, endless open world that Path of Exile 2 has. And I don't know where any of you stand on this, but I personally hope they do not get rid of it. I think it has so much potential where like it's endless what they could do with this endless world. It really is. There are so many things that they could do. It really is just, you can leave it up to your imagination what can happen with this. There's endless possibilities in this endless world. I personally hope they don't get rid of it. I do hope that, to me, and I know these are motherhood statements, it's not the minutia detail, but I really am more interested in not speculating what I think is going to happen. I'm very interested to see what Grinding Gear Games is going to cook up for us. Again, we're 4 to 5 weeks from finding out. So I'm very interested to see, because I think it's going to be a big sign of where they see this game going and the direction they're going to take. I am a proponent of Path of Exile 2 being different than Path of Exile 1. I know I've joked around, and many have, about, the meaningful and engaging combat, but I do think it's something that Grinding Gear Games needs to stick to their guns on, because I think it's going to serve them well for the long term of the game. I don't want them to make a POE 1.5. So Endgame, we're going to find out what it is. I hope it's a big rehaul, and I hope it's going to hit. My only last comment on this topic is it's got to be meaningful, it's got to be fun, and it's got to give us this end game loop that is not only rewarding and fun, but engaging, and gives us purpose to play the end game. Right now, we get to maps and it's yawn fest. And I believe this is why there's a drop off. The retention is not as good as it should be in Path of Exile 2, and it's because of the end game. Now, Grinding Gear Games know this. You guys know this. Everybody knows this. ARPG without an end game, like, come on. That's like PB peanut butter and jam sandwich without the peanut butter and jam. It's just the bread. So it's a key component. So we're going to see what happens. I hope, they said this is going to be huge, so we'll see. Now, I am speculating that this might be a kind of one of two additions to the rehaul. I think we may get an introduction to something and then they'll add to it. That might be a possibility. We'll see. I don't want to speculate too much, because really there's a lot of ways they can go with the end game. Obviously, the Atlas, like, again, like I said in the beginning, this could be a 20-part series video on this topic alone. But this is going to be a big update. We'll just see how it pans out. But again, they got to sew this up prior to 1.0. I don't think they can crawl into 1.0 with an end game that doesn't have a lot of meat and purpose and is not fun. I think they'll be limping into 1.0, and that may cause some irreparable damage to them as far as how many people are going to be playing the game when it goes 1.0. Okay, now class balance. I purposely, let me get rid of the class balance. I purposely left blank because this is another topic that we could talk for days on. Here's my motherhood statement on class balances. Number one, 0.4, I think, was a good step forward. You saw a good diversity of builds that were being played, a lot better than 0.3. 0.3 was dominated by the Ranger, but 0.4 spread the wealth out, at least a lot better than 0.3. I think they need to continue this. Now, typically, Grinding Gear Games does these power creeps every league, and everyone talks about power creep, like, and then the content becomes irrelevant. I have the following to say about class balance. Instead of these power creeps, I think what needs to happen is a couple of things. Number one, the classes that are not getting, that typically don't get the love. And the one that I love playing the most, the Sorceress, doesn't get the most love. That's a class that I think needs to be elevated. But my point is, the lower classes, the ones that don't get a lot of love, they need to be elevated. The ones that dominate leagues all the time, they can stay where they are. The lower ones need to be brought up. Number one, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Number two, a lot of the bosses have become like like piñatas, okay? Like easy. And like, does anyone rush Uber Arbiter? Like, seriously, is it a priority? Like, outside of saying, hey, yeah, I killed Uber Arbiter, like, does it give you any meaning or purpose when you do it? Not like, I personally don't. Like, when I kill it, great. Who cares? It doesn't do anything to me. There isn't that chasing of the Uber bosses, pinnacle bosses, like we have in Path of Exile. I personally think they need to amp up bosses, pinnacles, Ubers, and Path of Exile 2. They almost need to get like, you know, they need to be almost unbeatable. I know that's not going to sound good, but of course, I'm that's a little stretch. But my point is, like Jonathan always said in the beginning, when you fight our bosses, you're gonna die 3 or 4 times, but you're gonna take those deaths as learning opportunities to learn the mechanics of the boss, and then you should be able to kill that boss. Well, we don't have that, unless your build sucks. People are killing bosses in seconds. You know what I mean? So I think GGG needs to get back to that. And they need to get back to putting 6 portals back. If you're going to amp up the boss damage and the health of the boss, they need to be able to give us the opportunity to fight them over and over. Learn the mechanic so we can beat them. That may take 3 or 4 attempts or 5 attempts. Well, today we don't get 5 or 6 attempts because of the changes they made. Now, I'm a proponent of, you die, the boss resets its health. There's no, you have 6 attempts to to reduce its life once. No, you die, boss resets its health. But my point is, they need to amp up, because I think they amped down the damage and the health of bosses. They've become almost irrelevant, and you got to provide something for players to chase and earn. Players don't, a lot of us do not earn it. We copy paste builds and we just go and boom, and we delete bosses. So that's my stance on class balance. They need to, we have the top classes and the mediocre ones. Instead of drilling these down, I would bring these up and make the bosses way more tougher, health-wise and damage-wise. So it takes 2 or 3 attempts to kill these bosses. And I think you can tie that in with the end game. We need purpose. We need chase in this game. And not everything should be easy. I think certain content should be hard. But if you're going to do this, you need to reward the players that put in the time and the effort to make a build that can kill these tougher bosses. It needs to be rewarding, because that's the other thing that's missing in some of this end game loop. And that is, a lot of the tougher perceived challenges and content doesn't give you the same elevation of rewards. That needs to be addressed too. So that's my stance on class balance. I know it's a very general, motherhood statement, but, again, we can get deep into the weeds and be here for years. So when I first started this video, I talked about potential league drop dates. And this is kind of where I got to say, there's a lot of moving dates here. So as you can see here, Fate of the Val dropped on December 12th. And like I said, 0.5 was supposed to come in April, and now it's coming in May. We're not learning anything until the end of April, and the live reveal is going to be end of April. So this is the longest gap between 0.4 and 0.5 so far in the history of POE2, like I said earlier. Now, I'm hoping for the 15th personally, but everyone's thinking that it's going to be the 8th. Oh my God, I'm going to be so upset that I'm not going to be able to play that day. Anyway, so I raised this because typically it's 4 months, right? POE2 leagues. So if we go live in May, that's June, July, August, September, right? So September we get 0.6. Well, this is kind of where things get loosey-goosey. And that is ExileCon is happening November 7th and 8th. And we are all speculating, just about everyone, that that's where they're going to make the big announcement, because that's typically where they make huge announcements, that they're going to go 1.0 in December. It's the biggest season. This is when most studios get bang for their buck. It's when people are playing video games. This is when you want to drop a game in December, right? Well, if 0.6 drops in September, October, November, December, that's only 3 months, which is a possibility. And the only reason why I'm bringing it up, 0.6 to 1.0 will only have 3 months. Now, there's a million ways we can slice this. Maybe they early up 0.6 and then give themselves, so instead of September, they shorten the cycle between 0.5 and 0.6, and it's dropping in August, which gives them more time till December to drop 1.0. Remember, they're in between 0.6 and 1.0. They're also running ExileCon, which is a huge event. I'm sure it takes a lot of time and resources for them to host, manage. You know, they're bringing in all these content creators. Not me. So I would love to attend ExileCon, but I can't this year, nor was I invited, nor should I have been, to be quite honest with you. There's all the good content creators, the right ones, are going and were invited, so I'm happy for them. I can't wait to see what they have to say. But there's a lot that they're juggling. So my point of all this is that 06, ExileCon, and potentially 1.0 in December, it's going to be very interesting to see how GGG juggles this. And do they early up one? Do they delay it? Like, it's going to be very interesting to see. And on top of that, all the content that they're going to drop. Like, there's going to be new league announcements with all these. Like, there's a lot of things that I didn't mention that are also going to be part of this. So they are busy. This has kind of been on my mind ever since we heard that 0.5 wasn't coming until May. And when I looked at the speculation of 1.0 coming in December, ExileCon, all that stuff, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This 4-month cycle, which is not set in stone, is kind of going to go through some, jiggling later on. So I'm very interested to see how Grinding Gear Games handles that. And it's going to be interesting to see what they include in 1.0 and what they don't, and choose to do after they go full release. Now, again, as you've heard here, I do believe 1.0 is going to happen on December of 2026, as do most. So anyway, that is the point of this video. Get in the comment section. Let me know if I've missed anything. Obviously, I didn't talk about everything that's in the game, but if I said something that you didn't agree with, get in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Are you one of the people that do not believe they're going to go full release in December? Are you attending ExileCon? I hate you. Get in there. Let me know. And guys, I know there's been a drought, at least on my channel, with POE2 content, but you know, there wasn't really much to talk about. So I apologize for that. Sorry. But I think as we get closer to 0.5, again, 3 to 5 weeks away, you're going to start seeing me more frequently. And I cannot wait. I'm dying to play Path of Exile 2, but I'm purposefully staying away from the game because I want to enjoy this. What I hope to be is what they call a, you know, turning point in the game. And hopefully 0.5 is going to be that. Get in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear them. And as always, if you could like and comment on the video, I would really appreciate it. And the best way to support my content is to hit that subscription button. It would mean the world to me. The more subscribers we have, the more eyes and ears we get out to. And I love talking video games, specifically Path of Exile 2. So thank you. Hit that sub button and hit that bell, notification bell, so when I do drop content, you'll be the first to know. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for watching. We'll hope to see you next time. Take care. The opinions expressed in this video are mine and solely mine. Healthy debate is always encouraged. Hate is never welcomed. So get over it.